Today in CEC Gurukul Live, we are going to talk about how to integrate and relevance of integrating social and political life as social sciences. Friends, this we are going to talk in reference to primary education mainly, and then we are going to cover for secondary and then senior secondary level as well. Friends, why is it so relevant to understand what is pedagogy of social sciences? Why is it so relevant to understand that in the social science curriculum, why importance has to be given to social and political life of the nation as well as the world? Another important thing which we are going to cover today in our lecture is the pedagogical principles of learning social and political life in social sciences curriculum, and this we are going to cover in reference to model lesson plans. Friends, now getting back to the first point which we referred to, why is it so important for social and political life to be part of social science curriculum? Because through social science curriculum, we are trying to develop cultural understanding amongst our children. We are also trying to develop citizen responsibilities and economic education. All these three perspectives we shall be talking in detail in today's lecture. In this series of the lectures on understanding the pedagogical relevance of social sciences, we shall be dealing with these principles, and we shall also be dealing with that how the social science has been placed in its perspective by different education commissions, committees, as well as we shall also be discussing that how it has been viewed of relevance by different educationists. If we talk from the Max Weber's perspective, then the social sciences is primarily analytical instrument for understanding the meaning of and causal relationship between elements of social and cultural life. What does it mean? It means that as far as Max Weber is concerned, he viewed that social sciences try to develop the understanding and meaning of causal relationship between social and cultural life elements. We shall be unraveling this definition in the today's lecture. When we talk of understanding social sciences concept, now it is of the greatest relevance as far as school curricula is concerned all over the world. In fact, it will not be far-fetched to say that in the school curricula, social sciences concept has more important than mathematics and sciences. Why is it so? Because when we talk from the perspective of science and mathematics or languages, it is only social science which receives wide attention and criticism from the public. Why? Because social sciences deals with cultural phenomena. Social sciences is also deals with political phenomena, and it is something which provides a social perspective to the children. This is the reason culturally and globe wise it is only social science which receives wide attention as well as criticism from the public. As Michael Root has aptly stated that while teaching learning of social sciences, the choice between the view is to be left to the learner or their families, where the choice between the facts, skill and techniques is to be left to the school and to the professional who runs them. So, whenever we talk about the mathematics, sciences or languages, the other subjects, as Root has stated, the choice lies between the schools or the teachers who are teaching, while in the social sciences the choice what is to be taught and how it is to be taught is with the view of the society, view of the families, view of the political understanding experts, as well as view of the policy framers. In independent India, schools were encouraged to teach social sciences to promote the idea of development of the nation, to understand its nature, its social, economic, geographical and cultural aspect. So, after India gained independence, it was decided and it was understood that to teach to kids the idea of the nation, to teach the kids to understand what is the nature of democracy, to teach to the kids where do we stand economically, as well as to develop the understanding of geographical and cultural aspects, lays with the social sciences subject. So, accordingly, the social sciences curricula was developed to promote these ideas of development of these particular aspects. And India, when it became independent, had also a challenge that it had to overcome socio-economic challenges. What kind of socio-economic challenges? When the India became independent, we had issues, social issues as well as economic issues. We were the developing nations and were left by by the Britishers not very rich. In fact, they left us quite poor, so that had to be dealt with. Apart from that, we also needed to teach to children how they can appreciate their past and also develop patriotism. So, these responsibilities came down to the social sciences curricula developers. So, that is how they were responsible for managing that, how learner would familiarize with democratic principles which are there in the India's constitution, how learners will familiarize with the challenges with which we were left as soon as we gained independence. So, with these challenges, social sciences textbook were reflected upon by the curricular framers. So, whenever we have a look at the class 1 and class 2 curricula or the concept, we find that social sciences concept are more or less interwoven with the languages or mathematics courses. How they are interwoven with the mathematics or the language? Like if you have to teach the basic mathematics to the children, then naturally with the help of environment, like if you talk about trees, 1 tree, 2 tree, 2 tree, 3 trees, 4 trees, then naturally the child would also be getting to know about the tree, as well as child would be understanding the how to calculate, how to add or subtract or multiply. Similarly, it was also conceptualized as part of languages, like when we talk about the family, writing essay on a family. When we talk about family, it is a social sciences concept, but through languages we are tackling that. In class 3 to 5, they were introduced to natural sciences concepts also as a part of environmental studies. Now, there we started talking about why it is so relevant to have more trees. We started talking about in class 3 to 5, the students were introduced to the concepts like how the social consciousness has to be developed amongst the children. To develop the social consciousness amongst the children, it was found to be relevant that in these classes the concept like beyond family, like the school, classes, religion, region is also introduced. In fact, if we will talk from the social sciences concepts as being introduced purely, that is only in class 6 when social studies or social sciences is introduced. So, till we would say that in the primary, the social sciences is either taught in as environmental science, as from 3rd and 4th it is part of sciences and taught as environmental science, and from first in class 1st and 2nd, social sciences is taught as part of languages or mathematics only. From class 6, we have pure social sciences. When we talk about social sciences, how class 6 social sciences is different from class 9 social sciences or class 12 social sciences. From class 9, we have opening up of disciplinary boundaries. We started talking in terms of economics. We introduced children to geography, in pure aspect. We introduce children to history, we introduce children to political science as well. So, the topics were introduced separately as part of 4 subjects, and when the child comes to class 11, in class 11 and 12, social sciences are introduced as elective subjects. So, there the child is studying social science as something which is much more serious in a way, like being an elective subject. That means he or she is paying more attention to social sciences, and it is no more generic in nature as it was till class 10th. In fact, even in class 9th and 10th it is not so generic, but in class 12th as an elective subject it becomes very much relevant as well as very much important for child to understand social sciences as being a subject, as being an independent subject, as well as base of other subjects also. When friends, here it is very much relevant to talk about geography, because geography has been questioned by academicians in different regions as well as in different continents. Because when geography is introduced to schools as study of region and religion, it is often questioned that at national as well as international level, that in geography curriculum we are more concerned about the physical aspect rather than human aspects. So, it has been questioned by academicians today also and before also, like why are we trying to focus so much on physical aspect and not focusing more on human aspect of the geography. Friends, what do we understand by physical aspects of geography? By physical aspects of geography, what we mean is the talking about the region, the talking about the when we are talking about the territories, we are talking about the plains or mountains and trying to understand the latitude, altitude. We are more concerned about the physical aspects or dimensions of geography. And what does human component of geography means? Human component of geography would mean talking about disaster management, talking about the other human aspect related to, like talking about the different in customs or different, talking about the difference in costumes. In geography, we are not touching upon those aspects so much so in the curriculum, particularly from the perspective of Indian social sciences. So, as the two researchers have already pointed out, Kapoor in 2004 and Lahiri and Dutt in 2005, pointed out that geography curriculum in school is highly information oriented because it focuses more on maps, facts and figures and does not reflect contemporary development in geography education. Friends, how can we make geography more relevant? Of course, by introducing human aspect. Now, to talk about the social sciences as it begins for the students as soon as they are introduced to the social sciences. How do we make them aware about the world? Because this is the prime factor, prime agenda of social sciences, making children aware of the world and the environment around them. When the children are introduced to the topics like my family, my neighborhood, community helpers, by introducing these topics, we are informing them as well as making them conscious about the society, the community, the people around them, and also making them realize that how the people are knitted together because of responsibility towards each other and accountability to the environment and the society. By introducing such topics, we are also trying to introduce our children to the aspects like the moral values which are followed in the nation, as well as socio-economic perspective which is prevalent in the society or the community in which they are residing. So, by introducing these topics, we are trying to provide them a a picture of what kind of society they are going to live in. And of course, as all of us know, the society begins with the family. Now friends, let's have a look at how history is being introduced to the children and why is it being introduced in such a manner. If we have a look at the curriculum of history, it begins with early man. Then it comes down to Indus Valley civilization, and then it is followed by modern period in Indian history. French Revolution and great world leaders are also introduced to the children so that they have an understanding about the civilization. Of course, movements and renaissance which occurred over the years in India as well as the world at large are also introduced to the student. Why is it done? It is done so that having that kind of a knowledge, the children would be enabled to understand how the world and the different societies have evolved. After having understanding of the evolution of different societies or as well as the evolution of world, they would having a understanding of where the things have gone wrong and what has benefited the societies. As it is usually said, if you want to improve your future, then look at the past, because having a perspective from the history, we would be able to improve our present. The important events which occurred in the past, which endures the ideas as well as the eminent personalities which are introduced to the children who have created an impact on the nation, like when we introduce children to our leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru and other leaders, Shahid Bhagat Singh. Why is it done? It is done as to get them an understanding how the lives of people were affected locally and globally due to certain socio-economic or political turmoil or problems. So that way we are trying to develop the present from the history for our students. This way students try to understand how different societies are structured, managed and governed. This in turn helps students to understand their place in the world. Why is it so relevant for them to understand their place in the world? It is so relevant to understand their place in the world because if they will not understand from the history that how that evolution or the social progression has come into being or the political progression has come into being, then they would not be able to understand what actually we are and what actually we aim to be. So this is the basic perspective of teaching social sciences to children in the school years. And when we talk about geography, what is the relevance of the lessons which are introduced as our Earth, solar system, major landforms, water resources, natural vegetation and wildlife resources and natural disasters? Friends, by having a look at the title of these lessons, you will be able to recall your geography class 6 book, because this is how the lessons are named and this is the kind of a detail in the geography book the curriculum writers have done. What is relevance of teaching our Earth? As you can see that our Earth is followed by solar system, then there are the major landforms, then we also talk about water resources, natural vegetations and wildlife resources, and then of course natural disasters. From this title itself, the topics or the lesson, the title which is given to the lessons, it is very much clear that what we are trying to aim at by teaching these concepts. By teaching these concepts, we are trying to have an understanding developed amongst our students of how we have come into being and what should be the responsibility of the present generation as well as the future generation towards the environment, so that the disasters can be prevented. They are also being introduced to such topics so that they understand the relevance, importance and apart from that they understand feeling with the nature. They can understand how how the nature has given us the resources in form of water, how the nature has been kind enough to provide us natural vegetation, and what relevance do the wildlife resources have, as the word says wildlife resources, so that they understand what is their role in the nature of our earth. Their role in the nature of our earth is very responsible one. They are very accountable for maintenance of the nature. In disaster management, usually we introduce them to pollution, so that students will learn about how the pollution has come into being and how it can be controlled. Apart from that, by teaching them pollution, we are teaching them how the civic sense has to be developed as to control pollution, because the cycle, they also understand that the cycle cannot be reversed so easily. The natural cycle cannot be reversed. So, getting rid of pollution is not going to be easy, but it has to begin, and it will take years for us to get back to the nature, the pure form of nature, which the earth, our planet had given to us initially. Apart from teaching them pollution and disaster management, children are also introduced to outer space as well as formation of different landforms, so that they understand that how different the earth can be from one place to another. We have valleys, we have mountains, we have water so much, so that they can understand that how disasters also happen. So, by teaching them formation of different landforms, they are introduced to the fact that how earthquakes happen. They are also introduced that due to these landforms or due to the water bodies, how the humans have evolved, how the flora fauna has evolved, how the animals we see, they have evolved. So, in a way, by teaching our children about these basic concepts, we are providing them the understanding of their present being in the context of the past. That means we are teaching them how the present human being has come into being. So, the basic purpose of teaching social sciences curricula to the students is, may it be the water bodies, talking about the resources, is to tell them that how the present human being has come into being, how the flora and fauna are relevant to our own our life in this planet ahead, as well as maintenance of our own life on this planet ahead, to make them understand that how they can conserve and preserve environmental impact, and they also understand that how environmental impact can lead the present as well as the future generation to of course, it won't be very far-fetched that if we continue on the same pattern which we are going, may it be in the context of pollution, may it be the wasting of our resources. So, if we continue with the same pattern, so that the day is not very far off when there wouldn't be any generation at all on the earth. So, it is a way to teach how to be responsible towards our planet earth. Why this information is so relevant to the students? So that holistic understanding can be developed about the environment, as well as interrelationship can be developed between the nature and human habitats. They have to understand that how natural and human habitats are interlinked. If they understand the interrelationship between the two, it will be very easy for them to understand the values which we are trying to imbibe in them. It is also relevant to develop critical thinking abilities, because social studies, when we talk about social studies, one of the aim of social studies teaching is to inculcate higher order thinking abilities. Abilities like comprehension, abilities like application, analysis, evaluation, synthesis and creativity in students. Usually the teacher would say, even the students would say that the social sciences was the least creative subject, and because they were never taken to lab and they were never taught in the context of the life, the nature or the society. So, this is the reason why students find social sciences a boring subject, because it is more of a information based and it is taught by the teachers as a classroom subject, simply lecturing the students about and informing the students about the data, about the records, about the maps and all. So, result is that the students' critical thinking ability is not developed, and the creativity, which is one of a very important aspect of teaching social studies, is not developed amongst the students. Learning variety of topics such as natural resources, water resources, transport, communication, caste system, political ideologies, social reformers, our culture, United Nations, etc. These are basically the name of the lessons which we covered whenever we are teaching social sciences to our students. Why do we need to teach such topics? Natural resources, as we talked about, as to understand what we are and what our responsibilities as being a human on this earth. That means helping them to correlate between the natural habitat, helping the human beings to correlate between the human habitat and the natural habitat. It is very relevant that natural resources is taught. Similarly, water resources is to be taught so that they understand that how relevant, how important saving the water resources is on the earth, so that they can understand that how important their responsibility towards preserving water is. Apart from that, teaching them transport helps them to understand that how we have interlinked various regions, states, where different places with each other, and how relevant transport is for the existence of the society, for the development of the society and nation. Similarly, by teaching them communication, we are able to make them understand that how the communication has come into being and how relevant it is. The means of communication, may it be in the form of internet, may it be the form of symbols, or may it be the form of speaking. So, how the communication is important and how it has developed and how it has to be utilized by the generation in the future, so that it can yield some kind of important role in the development of the nation as well as socio-economic development of the country. Why caste system is so relevant? Caste system is relevant particularly with respect to our nation, because in our nation we have a prevalent caste system. So, providing them understanding to place caste system in a rightful perspective, so that they can grow together for the development of a nation, is very much important. Political ideologies have to be introduced to the children, because they are the one who are going to take the nation ahead. They are in the democracy, they are the voters, and for them it is very much relevant to understand different political ideologies. Only then they would be able to decide how to vote and whom to vote and what is the relevance of vote. Social reformers are to be introduced. By introducing social reformers, our experts or the curriculum framers wanted them to understand that how Indian society was having certain problems, may it be in the form of sati pratha or the child marriage, and how social reformers have played a very important role in getting rid of those social evils. By introducing social reformers, the children are introduced to that how the social problems can be identified and resolved, because ultimately the children are the one who are going to take the society ahead. Our culture being a very unique kind of a culture, understanding of our culture, which which changes after every 5 kilometer, because the culture which has the language, which has the customs, which has certain norms, is not in our nation, is not something which is from East India to West India, from Kashmir to the end of India, that is Tamil Nadu. You will find different kind of cultures, the different kind of customs, the different kind of costumes, the different kind of language, and having the understanding is very much relevant, so that the child or the student feels at ease, accept the variety, as well as acknowledge that diversity in our nation is something which makes it unique. So it is very much relevant to make them proud of our country, that they have a complete understanding of our regional social diversity, and despite having diversity, how we have kept it unified through democracy. By introducing United Nations to the students, we give them chance to understand that how the internationally the bodies, the organizations are working for improvement of the societies and communities, and they are working for the benefit of the people at large, and they are not working for particular nation, region, language or creed. So these kind of information or data in various contexts leaves the students rich, and that also provide them enhancement in their understanding of their social diversity. That also provides some understanding of the difference in our society, the different type of families, the different clothes we wear, the different kind of foods we eat, the festivals of India. So these aspects are introduced in our curriculum so that they can feel proud of the diversity. They can understand that despite having so much variety, how we can benefit from those varieties, and as well as do something for the development of the nation. So whenever we talk about our country, the states of India, the community is to be introduced, because states of India is to be introduced so that the children will get an understanding that how and what was the basis of deciding states in India. They also need to understand that what were the previous, like in pre-independence India, what kind of statehood did we have, and what kind of statehood presently India has, and what is the rationale behind that. In context to that, they have to understand the constitution, they have to understand their community, they have to understand the statehood in the context of constitution. They also need to understand the socio-religious reforms, as well as they have to understand that how the various reformers have challenged the caste system, and how the caste system was leading to failure in the society, and how it has been tackled by different reformers. So this helps the students to observe, learn and understand the human behavior, the values and attitude, as well as make them understand that how values and attitudes and behavior, the human behavior changes with time. And they also understand that how when the development takes place, that also means not just from the economic perspective, development is socio-economic. So until and unless there is development in the or progression in the value system, or and from the in the positive side, progression in the human behavior, positivity in the human attitude, the economic development cannot yield the kind of a result any nation wants for to be called developed or to be feel developed. So by understanding interrelation between these kind of concepts, the differences which exist among different people, the student is able to have a deep understanding of the Indian society, as well as understand that how he can place himself positively and for the benefit of the society, community and nation at large. So the purpose of the social sciences curricula is that student has to know about the different religions, cultures which exist in the nation as well as the world at large. It is also purpose of the social sciences curricula to teach them about the social stratification and norms of the society, and in the past as well as the present norms, so that they understand that how social norms are developed and what kind of role do they play in the progression of the society. So, social strata has to be understood by them from the social perspective as well as political perspective and economic perspective. And of course, they have to understand that how the various governing bodies and other institutions have played a leading role through their administration in placing the social stratification and norms of the society in a positive framework, so that they can be utilized for progression of the nation. This in turn helps the students to develop a wider perspective of society and the human condition. Now friends, the question is that what system of government is best for a particular country? This is something which is debatable, and every time we vote and listen to the political debate, this is something which this is the question which generally is raised. To understand and to be able to answer it better, it's very much important that the children during their school years are introduced to various government system, political activities, policies, and as we stated that they should understand that how the political parties are running the nation, and as well as they understand that how the democracy comes into being, because ours is a democratic country, and social sciences as a subject is something which becomes emphatic, which will be able to emphasize its curricula, or it will be able to emphasize what is basic aim of teaching social sciences, that is to make them analyze things, make them evaluate things, make them debate. Only then we can say that the student has been able to understand social sciences to some degrees. So, as a discipline, the social sciences, may it be geography, may it be history, may it be the political science, the main aim is to make the child question and then answer the problems or the situations. As we just now said that in the political science, the first question which is raised or should be raised is what type of government is best for a particular country, and this has to be debated in the light of the study of government systems, political activities and policies. Only if the child is able to debate well, only then we can say that yes, the aim of teaching political science in the class has been successful. Furthermore, by teaching them about their religion, social and cultural beliefs, caste and creed, nationalities, ethnicity, values, languages, festivals, foods and clothing, and type of families. Why is it so important for us to teach in our social sciences classes about different religions, about social and cultural beliefs, about the caste and creed, nationalities and ethnicity? Because these are all part of our socio-economic system which exists in our nation. As friends, we just now discussed that ours is a very diverse nation. So, because we are so much full of diversity in terms of norms, diversity in terms of region, diversity in terms of religion, diversity in terms of beliefs, even values, languages, festivals, foods, clothings and type of families. So, having so much diversity in this nation, it is very important that we are able to enhance the learning of our children in our classroom about these aspects, so that when the child goes out of the school, he or she is comfortable and understand that how he can play an important role despite so much diversity in unifying and development of the nation. This also helps the student to understand, apart from diversity and multicultural aspect, that there is interdependence and interrelatedness between different people, families, culture, religion and countries. So, by understanding that there are multicultural diverse society which is interrelated with each other for progression, development and existence, the student becomes aware of one's own entity. The student becomes aware of what is the role he or she has to play in such kind of society. So, but as we talked about initially, how can we teach that? Can we teach that through lecturing? No, the appropriate experiences have to be given to the students as to understand how different things and people affect their day-to-day lives. For example, if the child has to understand poverty in the society, and to understand that, simply lecturing will not understand. The child will have to go to the slums as to understand what real poverty is. Similarly, if the child has to understand what history is, the child will have to research and feel that by going to the places like Jallianwala Bagh or Lal Killa or Taj Mahal, by trips we can enhance the understanding of the children that how the history has emerged to its present being. Just like that, if the child has to understand politics, then we should have a kind of a parliament being organized in the school. By organizing parliament in the school, we will be able to enhance understanding of the children regarding various principal ideologies of political parties, as well as how the nation is run by the parliament. So, to develop all these all the understanding, the lecture mode definitely is not even appropriate. I wouldn't say sufficient, I would say it's not appropriate, because social sciences has to be felt, it has to be experimented with, it has to be understood in its rightful perspective, and to understand in its rightful perspective, it is very relevant that the child is left to investigate. If the child would investigate on its own, only then the child would be able to develop the conceptual understanding as well as critical understanding of all the aspects. So, by investigating, the child of course would be able to gain not just information and comprehend ideas such as discrimination, resource allocation and political priorities, but also in the future becoming a citizen of India, the child will be able to play an important role in dealing with such kind of problems like discrimination, balancing of resource allocation, as well as understand that how political priorities play an important role in development of a nation. So, these information are to be understood by the child, and of course then whenever we talk with reference to the social sciences, comprehension itself means that the child should be able to use that, apply those information. Only then we could say that yes, the child has comprehended those information. Now, how would the child analyze or evaluate? For analyzing or evaluating the existing connections between the ideas and theories, and as to make sense of how poverty affects certain population in the country, the child will have to identify the different parameters at which he or she needs to analyze or evaluate. Only then we can say that the child would be able to understand that how the society, the community and the nation at large is affected by poverty, or due to the discrimination, or due to the resource allocation. They can understand only by evaluating the connection between those ideas and theories, as well as view the practical aspects. This knowledge would further make them creative. when the child will go down to slums as to understand how the poverty is being dealt by the society, community and the nation, the child would also understand that how different policies which are given by the nation, by the government, how they are benefiting or not benefiting the people for whom those policies are being floated. So, if the student is able to understand the core problem, if the student can understand about the ways which are affecting the particular society or the community, then of course the student can come out with the new solutions also, policies also, which can reduce poverty. This can result in the debates, this can result in the essays, this can result in the role plays or the class projects. So, friends, as we understood with the example of certain topics which we usually cover in the social sciences, that the right mode of teaching the social sciences curricula is of course not the lecture, but the mode should be through debates, through essay, through the trip, through the role plays, or as well as through the class projects. So, to take another example, if they have to understand that how government is playing the role in the economy, and they have to understand what economy is and how it is interrelated with the resources and how the wealth is being created and distributed. For understanding that, of course, lecture mode will not be sufficient. For this, they will have to have an understanding of RBI, they will have to understand that how the government takes care of its wealth and how it is distributed, and how it is benefiting the people who are downtrodden. They have to understand the things from beginning from the taxation to the policies which are developed for benefiting of certain community, society, or the people who are really need to have done more for their own progression, because of their socio-economic lacking or because of the gender discrepancies or differentiation which they have, which there have been. The differentiation which was in the society might have been owing to the fact of gender, the caste system. So, that has to be understood. Only then they would understand that how economy can be utilized as for creating more resources and wealth, how the nation can become developed from developing countries. For this, of course, the history also become very important, because by having a look at the history, only then the students would be able to realize that how we have progressed to our present state. Where were we when we gained independence, and where we are, what kind of mistakes as a nation we have committed, and how we have progressed to our present status. So, after having understood historical trend and having discussed and understood the political and economic aspects, only then the child would be able to understand that why the distribution of resources have changed over time. What was the basis of distribution of resources, and how it has now come to its present being. So, when we talk about social sciences, friends, it doesn't begin anywhere, but of course it encompasses everything. And like even if we are talking with respect to some political debate, as just now in an example we talk about poverty. If we are talking about poverty, then naturally you will have to touch it from the economic perspective, we will have to touch it from the social perspective, we will have to touch it from the constitutional perspective, we also need to touch it from the historical perspective, from the cultural perspective also. So, it is something which is multidisciplinary. No topic can be taught in isolation by political scientists or economists or the historians. All the people are interlinked. because interlinkage is something which forms the base of society in India, which forms the base of socio-economic development in India. As in the previous example we talked about that how these three areas are tied. To really understand that how the people are living day to day lives of people, to understand day to day lives of people, we will have to understand their economic situation. How can we understand their economic situation? Then naturally the child will have to go down into the field as a project to understand that what is their earning and how that earning is being used by the family, so that they understand what is their economic situation, and after that they can correlate it with the study of culture, they can correlate it with the beliefs, custom. Similarly it can also be correlated with the government policies which have been given for the benefit of those poor people. So thereby the child will be able to have more understanding, and the child will be not only more informed but also would be able to analytically place the information appropriately, apply one's knowledge for the progression, that is would be able to come out with certain ideas which would be futuristic, as well as would be able to provide students how to be a good citizen. By good citizen what we mean is that by being good citizen means that you should be understanding the constitution, you should be understanding one's responsibility, and you should be benefiting the nation in form of your work or your inputs, so that the nation develops. When we talk about social sciences, the friends, so let us try to conclude what we have discussed till now. When we talk about social sciences, there are twofold purposes of social sciences. One is the promotion of civic competence, that is knowledge, skills and attitude required in our democratic country. Secondly, it is to educate students who are committed to the ideas and values of our democratic republic and who are able to use knowledge about their community, nation and world. So friend, these are the twofold principles or purpose of teaching social sciences to our students. And how do we teach them? By teaching them the skills of data collection, skill of analysis, collaboration, decision making and problem solving. So these are the tools of teaching the social sciences. So friends, here I have not mentioned lecture method, because lecture method is definitely not a way to teach social sciences. To teach the social sciences, we have to develop the skill of data collection, then analysis, collaboration, decision making and problem solving. So the students who have understanding, who have knowledge, who have skill would be more capable of shaping our future and sustaining and improving our democracy, because this is the basic purpose of teaching social sciences, that we should have the citizens in futures who would not just sustain but also improve our democracy. So here are the few objectives from the social sciences curriculum. First is understand that people move between places and how this has the consequences for the people and places. So here we are talking in the context of migration. Migration, when we talk about migration, it is also talked in the perspective of work. It is also talked in the perspective of education of the children which is affected due to migration of the families. So how the reasons of understanding the movement as well as its effect on the people at large, and how that has to be dealt by the governance or the society at large. Second objective of teaching social sciences is linking career education to the social sciences curriculum. So, how can we link career to the social sciences curriculum? Of course, after having studied social sciences, the student can go to the research, the student can be economist, the student can be political scientist, the student can be historian, the student can be anything and everything. Like a student of social sciences can be good in handling the media, because he or she has understanding of the society as well as the governance. Another important thing or another important objective of teaching social sciences curriculum is to make them understand how economic decision impact people, communities and nation. To teach this, of course, the history is the base, and apart from that, from the political scientist perspective also, we teach in the curricula that how economic decisions are impacting the nation at large. Another objective which we need to refer for teaching social sciences is that making children understand how people seek and have sought economic growth through business, enterprise and innovation. Friends, this is a very important point, because one of objective of teaching social sciences is to create entrepreneurs, to create businessmen, to create innovators. And we usually say, whenever we talk in the terms of innovation, we say only science can create innovators. No, science create scientists, but social sciences create social scientists. So, innovation is one field which is very much open to the students who have studied social sciences. Another objective which is very important is to understand how the different sector of Indian economy are interdependent. So, friends, in our next lecture we shall be covering the pedagogy, as well as we shall be talking in the term of model lesson plan, so that we understand that how the social sciences has to be taught. With this, have a good day. Thank you.